More news coming in at this point. The U.S. military has said that an Indian-flagged vessel has been hit by a drone. The U.S. says the attack took place in the southern Red Sea and no injuries have been reported. The attack was by Houthi militants from Yemen, is what we're learning. 15 attacks on shipping by militants since October is what the U.S. says. This attack took place at 10:30 p.m. Indian time last night. Let's in fact quickly take a look at what the U.S. Central Command has shared on social media platform X. They say, and I quote, on December 23rd, 2 Houthi anti-ship ballistic missiles were fired into international shipping lanes in the southern Red Sea from Houthi-controlled areas of Yemen. No ships reported being impacted by the ballistic missiles. Between 3 and 8 p.m., that is U.S. time, and the USS Laboon DDG-58 was patrolling in the southern Red Sea as part of Operation Prosperity Guardian, OPG, and shot down 4 unmanned aerial drones originating from Houthi-controlled areas in Yemen and were inbound the USS Laboon. Now, there were no injuries or damages in this incident. At approximately 8 p.m. U.S. time, U.S. Naval Forces Central Command received report from 2 ships in the southern Red Sea that were under attack. The MV Blaminen and a Norwegian-flagged owned and an operated chemical oil tanker reported near a miss of a Houthi one-way attack with no injuries or damages reported. A second vessel, the MV Sai Baba, a Gabon-owned Indian-flagged crude oil tanker, reported that it was hit by a one-way attack drone with no injuries reported. The USS Laboon responded to the distress calls from these attacks, and these attacks represent the 14th and 15th attacks on commercial shipping by Houthi militants since the 17th of October. I'm being joined by my colleague Vishnu with more details. Vishnu, the U.S. military, of course, has confirmed that this was a one-way drone attack on the Indian-flagged vessel in the Red Sea. Take us through the latest that we're hearing.
Well, frankly, beyond what you've said, is not very much. This is the latest incident which has taken place in the southern Red Sea at a time when Houthi rebels operating from the parts of Yemen, which they do control, have been attacking merchant shipping. It is of incredible concern now to India as well, since a large amount of our maritime commerce comes through the Red Sea. That entire area is very sensitive. And the incident that you refer to now involving the MV Sai Baba, which is, as I understand it, an oil carrier, has taken place, is the second incident which has taken place in 24 hours affecting a ship traveling to Indian waters. It comes at a time when there was a fairly intense engagements of drones fired from Houthi rebels yesterday. As you mentioned, the U.S. Navy intercepted 4 drones which were coming in. At about 10:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time, the MV Sai Baba, this merchant vessel, came under attack from a drone. We believe it has been struck by a drone. However, there is no loss of life and nothing substantial in terms of damage that we are aware of at this stage. That ship, we understand, continues to be on its way. So that's the second incident which has taken place in 24 hours. There is no update at the moment from the Indian Navy, but obviously, given the fact that this is the second time that this sort of thing has happened in 24 hours, it's a matter of huge concern.
Right, Vishnu, stay with us. We in fact have more news coming in on this regard. A chemical tanker earlier, of course, off the coast of India was targeted by a one-way attack drone fired from Iran, is what the Pentagon said in a statement. The attack caused no casualties aboard the Japanese-owned vessel, it said, adding that a fire was extinguished. Now, the U.S. military remains in communication with this vessel as it continues toward a destination in India, is what we're learning. The Pentagon, of course, said that the Shem Pluto ship flew under a Liberian flag and was operated by a Dutch entity. There was no immediate claim of responsibility for this strike, which comes amid a flurry of drone and missile attacks, as we've just reported. I have my colleague Vishnu still with us. Vishnu, take us through this particular attack that's happened off the coast of Gujarat.
Well, the incident which took place involved the ship, the Shem Pluto. It took place about 200 nautical miles southwest of Verawal, so fairly south in the Arabian Sea. And the fact that it was struck by a drone and the location at which it was indicates the use of a system with a fairly expansive range. That represents a new challenge and a huge challenge if vessels even so far south into the Indian Ocean are being targeted, number one. At the moment, the vessel is being escorted by the Indian Coast Guard. It's being escorted by an Indian Navy warship which arrived on site. Both the Coast Guard and the Navy have maritime reconnaissance aircraft aware of the location of the ship and, are surveying it on a fairly regular basis. The ship, as I understand it, is now bound for Mumbai. It has sustained damage as a result of this. It was sort of dead in the water, wasn't moving at a certain stage yesterday after being struck. Apparently a problem to either its steering or its propulsion, unclear right now. What the exact status is, whether the ship is moving, whether it will be under tow or any such detail. But the fact that it was struck as far south in the Arabian Sea as it was, with 21 Indians, of course, on board, again, a matter of huge concern. As far as the larger strategy or plan to step up the Indian deployment of warships in the Red Sea area to be in a position to start intercepting drones or to provide convoy support and defense when required, that's something that the Navy would be looking at very, very closely indeed. But as I mentioned, the big story over here, besides, of course, the immediate danger to lives on board, irrespective of the nationality, is that a lot of India's maritime commerce comes through the Red Sea, operates in those waterways leading right up to various ports in India. And if that is threatened, then that represents a huge challenge to our economic interests.
Right. Thank you for joining us and bringing us those details on this particular story.